Today we're going to be looking at more Am I the A-hole posts. If you don't know what Am I the A-hole is, it's basically a Reddit page where people talk about a situation happening in their life and we decide whether they were in the wrong or if they weren't. It's actually quite good, like you do find out a good wee bit of gossip. Okay, so the first one is, am I the a-hole for refusing to forgive my dad for breaking our deal? When I, 17 male, was 8, my parents bought me a piano and signed me up for lessons. I was super excited because I loved music. Over time I kind of became known as the piano guy at school. I played school concerts, accompanied the school jazz choir, and play once a week for the residents at a couple of retirement homes in our town. When I was 15, I started to talk about quitting lessons, and my parents quickly tried to guilt me out of it. Yeah, I've been in the exact same situation where, you know, you play a musical instrument and you just kind of fall out of love, you don't want to do it anymore. Then your parents are kind of like, oh, that's a lie, you totally love it deep down, don't you? And then you just don't. I told them I wanted to try other things, and that between piano and studying, I didn't have time left for other extracurriculars. My dad proposed a deal. If I kept playing and taking lessons until I reached level 10 RCM, which is Royal Conservatory of Music. In Northern Ireland we got something different. Oh, what is it? I can't actually remember what it is, but basically I played the cornet and the trumpet when I was younger, and I done like all these exams and I'd done like pretty well. What was it called? I can't remember. If you're like a musical person and you're from the UK, let me know. It's like that thing you do in school and then like you know what I mean. If you know, you know. And continued to keep my grades up at school, he would buy me a new car of my choice. I jumped at it and we shook hands in a deal. I should explain that my family are well off financially. I have a very privileged life, but I wouldn't say I've been spoiled. If I ever want a luxury item like a new phone or game console, I have to buy it myself with the money I save from summer and after school jobs. I should also explain that my dad's big on loopholes. Oh god, so he's one of these types of dads. When we compete, he always finds a way to win, and when I do, it doesn't count because of some loophole. It drives me nuts, but he thinks it's hilarious. Whenever I complain to him not playing fair, his answer is always the same: life isn't fair. Yeah, again, this dad seems like a bit of a nightmare, doesn't he? I felt like he's one of them dads who just thinks he's so much funnier than what he actually is. So because of our deal, I kept up with my lessons. I spent about 1 to 2 hours a day on piano while also keeping up my grades. Last summer, I took my level 9 RCM exams and passed, fulfilling my part of the deal. I told my dad I'd chosen the BMW X5 plug-in hybrid SUV. A couple of months ago on my birthday, I came downstairs for breakfast and my dad told me there was a surprise waiting for me in the garage. The thing is, it's just not going to be the car that he wants, is it? I ran out and sitting in the middle of the floor was a 1/24th scale toy BMW X5. My dad burst out laughing and said a deal's a deal. So as promised, here is your brand new BMW. My heart absolutely broke. I asked if he was being serious and he said I couldn't seriously have expected him to buy a 17-year-old a real brand new BMW, and that we could discuss getting me a reasonably priced used car. I don't know what's going on in my brain, but apparently I keep messing up these bloody words. I said we had a deal and I fulfilled my end of it. He said he did too, since I never said that the car had to be full size and drivable. I said he wasn't being fair. His response: life isn't fair. I'm so sorry, but if I were you, I genuinely probably would smack him across the face. He seems like the type of person just to go out of his way to irritate people. Like, I hate people like that. Ever since this happened, I have been distant with my dad. I honestly feel like he betrayed my trust and that he deliberately made a fool out of me. He keeps bringing up the idea of a used car, but I told him I'm not interested, which I admit is kind of petty. No, it isn't. Do you want to know something? If I were you, I honestly would leave home. Like, I'm telling you, the minute that dad drops dead, he's getting put into a care home and I'm never gonna see him again. I have enough money saved that I can buy a cheap used car myself, and I just feel like if I accept one from him now, it's like saying that breaking his promise doesn't matter and that he didn't do anything wrong. Am I the a-hole? Absolutely not. Your dad is an absolute a-hole, and do you want to know something? If I were you, I probably would try to burn the house down at night. It's just the fact that like he's kind of had a bit of a history of doing this. You know, he made a deal with you to do piano, do well in your grades, and then you get something that you wanted. By the way, this started whenever you were like 15, so this has been going on for about 2 years, hasn't it? And then, you know, he just like, yeah, you're not the a-hole, but he is not the a-hole. Someday when he wants to come home for holidays, send a framed photo he can set at the table. There, you are home. You didn't tell him you'd be there in person. Life's not fair, dad. See, that's not even that petty. If I were him, I would literally book him a trip and then like cancel flights whenever he's in that country. Imagine he's on like a holiday to like, I don't know, Australia, and he like lives in like Boston. That's completely fine. You can fly over there, but do you want to know something? No hotel for you, no flight back for you. You know, it's just a joke. Life ain't fair. You're gonna have to pay for it yourself. Not the a-hole. I would sit your father down, tell him that you're very disappointed in him and his actions will mean you're not going to be able to trust his promises in the future. As Prince used to say, the future is a very long time, and eventually he's going to regret it, even if he continues to make fun of you for something you were upset about when you were young. You might think of some examples where he might want you to do something in exchange for a promise. It's unfortunate that you have to be an adult and your relationship with him won't have the level of trust it once had. Yet again, these people are way too nice. If I were you, I'd do something back at him. I mean, it just seems like an absolute nightmare. He's just not funny. Now, I feel bad for this week, kiddo. Am I the a-hole for walking out of a restaurant on my GF? Okay, so I don't know how to feel about this. Yes and no. I guess we're gonna have to find out a bit of the context. GF and I were having dinner at a restaurant when she got a text from her best friend who recently gave birth, and she said, oh my god, she got a C-section. She works as a nurse, so then she explained to me that type of incision they make for that and how it'll leave a scar. I then, as a joke, said, at least she'll still be tight down there. My GF looked confused and then said that that was a weird comment to make about her friend. I then said it was a very normal joke to make and she disagreed. I asked her to drop it and she kept trying to talk about it. I said to her, you're so insecure. And then she goes, does it make you feel good to call me that? So then I got really frustrated, got up and walked out of the restaurant and drove home. She called me several times. I drove both of us there, but I was so frustrated and just wanted to get home, so I turned my phone off. She showed up at our apartment 30 minutes later and was really pissed, called me an a-hole and overreacted. And then she waited in the cold for 20 minutes for an Uber. Am I the a-hole for walking out on her and leaving her there for being frustrated? I mean, absolutely, yeah, you made a joke that just didn't go down well. And you know, maybe for her, you should have accepted the fact that maybe she didn't find it funny. You know, she is a nurse, so she does know about these things. You're the a-hole for the completely unnecessary sexist comment about your friend's vagina and for your lack of understanding about basic biology. Bonus a-hole points for calling your girlfriend insecure, having a toddler tantrum and storming off. This man seems more of a baby than the bloody baby her friend just gave birth to. Right, like where and what have these men been taught about a woman's genitals? He probably thinks pee comes out of the vagina too. I mean, to be fair, I kind of thought that for a while. Like, I didn't realize there was two holes in the vagina. The one that pee comes out of is like a little pinhole. Like, for some reason, I genuinely thought it was like a bum hole. Like, I don't know what I thought a vagina looked like. And that right there is why I'm a homosexual. Okay, so we're now on to our last and final one. Am I the a-hole for missing an actual emergency because I turned off my phone to avoid my wife's unnecessary contact attempts during my tech-free weekend? Okay, so I always hear people talking about tech-free weekend. I'm assuming that's basically where you don't go on your phone at all. I've been thinking about doing one of these things, but I would definitely have my phone with me just in case, you know, if someone does need to ring me, I can answer it. But I guess we're gonna find out what this situation is. My best friend, 31 male, and I, 27 male, have a tradition of taking a yearly weekend trip together that's phone free. We've been doing this for a decade now. These trips consist of us staying in a suite and exploring the city, not traversing the wilderness, so it's not like we're completely disconnected. Still, we like to keep one in hand for navigation and emergency purposes, and it would usually be a friend's phone that we brought along. So are they not taking any of their phones? They're taking like a friend's phone. I mean, you can still have a tech-free weekend, you know, with your phone with you. You can just not go on it, but still have it in case someone needs to ring you. Friend and I left for our trip this year 2 Fridays ago to make use of the long weekend. This was the first time I've gone out on one of these trips since my wife and I moved in together, got engaged or got married. However, we were dating for the last 2 years worth of trips, 2021 and 2022, and she seemed fine during that part. I would just tell her I was going to be busy for the weekend and she'd leave me alone. I understand that there are different expectations once you get married, but I didn't expect for the 180 in behaviour. My wife all but demanded I take my phone as well in case she needed to get a hold of me, despite her having friend's number. I let her know I had arrived, and immediately after that she was texting me and asking me how things were, then again asking me another question when I didn't respond to the first one. I eventually muted our text conversation because I was sick of the phone buzzing. She called me a few hours later and asked why I wasn't responding to her texts. I reiterated that this was supposed to be a no phone weekend and kept the call short despite her trying to drag out the conversation. She called me once more after this. When I answered and found out it wasn't an emergency, I simply turned off my phone. The calls then started coming in for my friend and he followed suit. We spent the rest of the weekend with our phones off until the drive back on Monday. I called my wife and informed her when we were 30 minutes away from my place, and she was furious. She said that there ended up being an emergency. Her sister got into a car accident that won't affect her long term, but still resulted in broken bones, and that I had just ignored her the entire time when she needed me. I told her that I was very sorry to hear about your sister, but it wasn't my fault. She had intentionally forced my hand into cutting off means of communication. She then went to stay with a friend before I arrived home that night, and has since came home, but she's still fuming. Am I the a-hole? Edit, I'm politely asking everyone to stop making harmful accusations about my friend and the nature of our relationship when we were younger. It's making me uncomfortable, and not in that I'm having an epiphany where you guys are hoping, but in that you're jumping to incredibly crude conclusions about someone I love and trust based on a tiny snippet into our lives. So yeah, basically that was the whole conversation. You know, he was going on a phone free weekend and the wife kept calling him, so then, you know, he turned his phone off completely because he was getting irritated, and then something bad happened to the wife's girlfriend, or not girlfriend, sister. I don't know how to feel. Like, not really. I mean, I guess no. know. I don't know. I'm personally gonna say you're not the a-hole. But you know, the way the wife was going about it, you know, if he's having a tech-free weekend, don't ring him, sunshine. I have the odd feeling that she almost wanted there to be an actual emergency so she could feel justified in bothering and might have created one if it didn't occur naturally. She desperately doesn't want you away from her. You'll need to have a serious conversation about that. AITA, apparently original poster buried some key details in the comments too, so it sounds like his wife needs to have a serious conversation with him as well. Oh my god, what type of conversation are they going to be having? Edit 2, forgot to change the judgment. While I believe strongly in tech free time, this isn't what the post is about. She didn't handle it best though. Honestly, should have been handled before the trip took place, so she's still included. So is she the a-hole or is she not? I had a similar thought that she was sabotaging the tech free weekend. If Frank can't relax because he's fielding texts, then original poster can't relax either, and it's a win for her. She sounds awfully insecure and exhausting. So yeah, I'm assuming that basically he's not the a-hole, but she is. Well, anyways guys, that's where I leave that video there. I might start doing these videos every 2 weeks because like there's a load of them that I could do. Thanks so much for watching this point if you have already, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another video.